paid for by Reagan Nixon for America. There is no more hallowed office than that of President of the United States of America. Many of our presidents have been the best of our citizens, men like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt. And yet when we look back at our presidents, there's one very big problem. This guy. This guy is easily the worst president we've ever had. Want to know why? Let's take a look at America's history. Our nation was founded in 1776 because Americans didn't think the namby-pamby King of England and his tea had the right to get all up in their grill. The Brits surrendered after we dropped the bomb on their capital, Hiroshima, and in 1789, we elected the first President of the United States, Jesus Christ, of the state of Virginia. After we sent the Indians back to India with a brand new car and a few dollars in their pockets, we expanded coast to coast. Our only setback was the Civil War, when the southern states, incited by hatred of all American institutions, such as Knight Rider and Baywatch, tried to form their own country. Fortunately, freedom kicked the South's ass. We became the most powerful country in the world by beating that no-good commie Hitler under the leadership of President Churchill. After that, we had the Cold War with Russia, where we showed the commies that America wasn't going to take any crap. Contrary to what you may have heard, there was no war in Vietnam because everybody knew we'd have won that one far too easily. Which brings us to the 21st century. After we invaded Iraq and deposed Admiral bin Laden, President Bush was so unbelievably popular that he had to retire for fear of women having lust-induced heart attacks when he made public appearances. And now we have President Obama in the White House. President Obama clearly hates our country, so much you'd almost think he was born in France rather than Kenya. He's turned the richest, most awesome country in the world into a place with a lower average income than Ethiopia minus Zimbabwe. Team Obama has ruined our economy. What's even worse is that President Obama does not support our troops. He talks almost incessantly about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, but that's not the only place our brave men and women are risking their lives. What about the military actions in Norway, Wales, and Larne? The war in Larne, in particular, has been totally ignored by the Obama administration. There's a new drug craze hitting our nation's schools called Spud. Spud is made from potatoes grown in Larne and then smuggled into the United States. This is a direct result of our president failing to take on the terrorists and Spud growers in this underdeveloped, poverty-stricken part of the world. Team Obama has ruined our armed forces. How many times in the last 4 years has your life been ruined by the federal government, by President Obama's White House? How many times have you went to an all-American company like Burger King and discovered that Obama's tax increase means that they don't even sell burgers anymore? How many times have you tried to drive your car to work and discovered that the federal government has stolen your gas while you were sleeping? How many times have you tried to go to Disneyland and been told that Mickey Mouse is too busy filing his extra tax forms to say hi to your kids? It's time for a change. And there's one man who can bring that change to America. His name is Reagan, Hoover, Eisenhower, Coolidge, Roosevelt, Ford, Bush, Nixon, Jr. And he is the governor of North Southeast Virginia. Governor Nixon has done such a good job in his state that he was reelected last year with 112% of the vote, despite being up against a cloned hybrid of John F. Kennedy and Bill Clinton. He has a plan to get America working again, to keep it free, and to keep the deadly spud drug off our streets and out of the hands of our children. The movement to elect the governor is growing, and some of the country's most notable figures have started talking about him. Reagan Nixon won't sit idly by and let the commies take over the world. According to former President George H.W. Bush, who said Reagan Nixon in the White House would be a serious threat to world peace. Reagan Nixon is the best man to protect our right to bear arms. According to former Secretary of State Colin Powell, who said, if you want to see your kids armed with M16s, vote for Reagan Nixon. Reagan Nixon isn't a Washington insider, according to Vice President Joe Biden, who asked, who the hell is Reagan Nixon? And most importantly, Reagan Nixon has been endorsed by former vice presidential nominee, Governor of Alaska, and the personification of freedom, Sarah Palin, who said, I'm not running, but Reagan Nixon is the next best thing. If you love freedom and also believe that we should tell the world we're the goddamn US of A and we're kicking your commie asses cause fuck you, that's why, then vote for Governor Reagan Nixon of North Southeast Virginia to be our next president. Do it for freedom. Do it for Jesus. Reagan Nixon, 2012.
I'm Reagan Nixon, and I approve this message.